Hello, comadres, and welcome to the full moon report in Aquarius. I am Marlene, your moon goddess, and as always, I am so happy to share space with you. This is a special week since we are running the open week for Las Comadres. Open enrollment is coming next week, and we have some potential comadres that are joining us that are thinking of becoming part of our community. So to you, I want to say thank you for supporting us, and thank you for stopping on by on Open Week. It's important for us, for you to feel our vibe and connect with us. So thanks for coming. As always, thank you for the comadres that support live and the ones that watch later. There is, if you didn't know, if you're a new comadre or just maybe new to the moon reports, there is a Zoom link that we always send out, and comadres join us live where we have a nice Q&A after, and we get to connect and talk about how the full moon is affecting us. So without further ado, let's get started with this intense full moon in Aquarius. And I always feel kind of apprehensive to use the word intense, because I feel like I'm always on here saying that something intense or something crazy is happening. But this, I would say, is one of the most intense full moons that we're going to have in the year. And the reason for that is because it's illuminating energies. I mean, the full moon is in Aquarius at 0 degrees, and it is opposing the sun in Leo. We have officially entered Leo season, and the sun is in Leo at 1 degree. So they're in real tight opposition, and those low degrees, like if I say 0 degree or 29 degrees, like at the end or at the beginning of the degrees, it's always an intense energy. And this one in particular brings back and illuminates the energies of the Great Conjunction. For those of you that are my moonies and my moon regulars, we talked about the Great Conjunction in December, where Saturn conjuncted Jupiter in Aquarius at 0 degrees. And the full moon, which is at its highest illumination when it's full, it is illuminating the energies from that time where a cycle began. And some astrologers consider it being the beginning of the Aquarian age at that conjunction. So this full moon is bringing back the energies of that time, of that new cycle that began. And if you can remember, maybe if you write in your journals, maybe you can go back to those days and see what are the things that were coming up for you then? What are the things that were beginning for you at that time? And it's really important to look at that, or maybe try to recall that, or maybe bring that into your consciousness, because this full moon, like I said, is really intense, and it could be bringing up feelings of agitation, emotional heaviness, emotional uprising, right? But also an uplifting. This is an important full moon. We are being illuminated what needs to uprise, per se, so that we can look into the future and into the best outcome for our future as a collective, which is a very big theme in Aquarius. Social movements, social social impact, the collective. But Leo is about the self, right? It's opposing the full moon, and Leo is that energy about self-expression and self-actualization. And that dynamic, that axial paradox, if you will, of Aquarius and Leo always brings us to that, where can we find that middle ground of doing what is right for the future for all of us, and also doing what is right for us personally, standing in our own truth, even if it's not what collectively around you everybody thinks, but having that ability to just stand and say, nah, I don't agree, I disagree, but still having the intention of what keeps us moving forward. Because we have to remember that, yes, Aquarius is about community, but Aquarius is also about freedom, and freedom of thought particularly. So when we start bringing up all these themes, how are these themes coming up for you personally? Are you having difficulty standing alone? Are feelings of loneliness maybe coming up, maybe isolation? Doesn't surprise me. These things may be coming up because within this freedom of thought is sometimes going against the grain. It's sometimes not really feeling like you're part of what everyone collectively around you is thinking. And how do we find that happy medium and that balance of respecting others, marinating in our differences, maybe uniting sometimes in our similarities, and just kind of sitting with yourself also in what is your truth? What is coming up for you? So, across the planet, we've been seeing some of these themes. Can we agree? There's a lot of uprising when it comes to the themes of freedom. And, you know, this this is a rebellious energy. This is going to be feeling like no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do it my way. And let's really rebel. Let's really speak out. Use our voice against that. And it doesn't surprise me. If the comadres that are live would kindly go on mute. I'm hearing a little kickback, and awesome. Thank you so much. So with Aquarius, there may be something coming up for you right now in this full moon. Going back to the great conjunction, like maybe something from the past, an idea or some sort of transformative event may have been going on during that day. During that time. And what has been coming into focus now for you? What has been moving you towards something different? What has been coming alive for you? And it's time to take note of that, because this is what's going to lead us to that truth that we stand in. These nudges, these intuitive nudges, are the ones that lead us down the path to transformation. And if you are being called, you are meant to trust it, because ultimately you're meant to trust yourself. Again, along the same themes of not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to think differently. In whatever way that's showing up for you, take note of that. Bring that up to your consciousness. Maybe sit under the full moon and reflect about that today, because we are being called by this full moon to think in new ways. But there's a tension that comes along with that. There's a tension that comes along with, leaving old patterns of thinking and old ways of thinking into new ways of thinking. It's not that easy to just decide, oh, I'm going to think differently. All your bodies have to catch up to that. Maybe conceptually, you're like, oh, I changed my mind about something. But emotionally, it may be trickling in a little bit slower. And then physically, you may not even know that your body is responding to the change. So bring your awareness into your emotions, because emotions may be coming up right now as you realize certain insights. And it may be triggering, again, that upheaval, that uprising inside of you. If we're watching it in the collective, if we're watching it happen globally around us, you bet your ass it is happening inside you, inside me, inside all of us at a personal level. And the most important thing that we can do right now is really become aware of that and how we move and change through that, how we manage our emotions so that, we get to think differently, we get to be rebellious, we get to do it our way. also thinking about how we move forward together. This is where that paradox gets a little bit tricky sometimes. Self-expression is amazing. Self-expression is needed for a healthy balance, for healthy lifestyle. As long as we're not stepping and trampling over people to get there, it's great that you can do it your way, but collectively, we have responsibilities towards each other simply because we're sharing space in this beautiful planet that we reside in. So keep yourself in check, because there is a little bit of a push-pull that I feel here, and it could go either way. And there is a lot of fire, thank you, Leo, that is going around. So this full moon, I will choose to ground a lot in the physical sense. Like maybe, do some exercise, maybe do a yoga flow. I will, if you're really extremely grounded, then meditate maybe under the full moon. But I personally am going to stay away from that, because I'm really focusing on anchoring the thoughts and the emotions that are coming up for me. The new ways that I'm thinking of moving forward. The things that I have to leave behind that no longer serve this new way of thinking for me. And I'm getting in the, I guess I'm romanticizing a little bit of, wow, getting to know this new Marlene, getting to know this new person that is showing up for me. I'm excited about that, even though I do feel grief about what's left behind, because that does include people and places and things that I care about. So a lot of grace, that's been my word lately, grace. A lot of grace, comadre and potential comadres, to yourself. A beautiful thing happens when we express self-love. And it's that through self-love, we begin to love everybody else. We begin to feel compassion for others in a huge way, because we begin to really feel compassion for ourselves and understand that this is a learning process and a journey that we're all on. And yeah, we have differences. And yeah, you're not going to do it the same way as me. And yeah, things are unfair and we do need change. But the change starts with us. And I really, really want you to understand that. The change really starts with the different ways that we're starting to be presented ideas, the different ways that we are making friends. Venus is in Virgo, and we're looking at relationships in small ways, like the small details, the little small things that tend to the relationships that we keep, and the value in that. The small ways that we love each other, the small ways that we keep each other high. That little phone call that you suddenly get from a comadre that you haven't heard from in a couple months at exactly the right time, saying the right words. And really dive and really immerse yourself into that magic if you are having those kinds of relationships. How are you tending to those relationships? How are you showing love? How are you uplifting? We need that. We need that on the planet big time. We are always going to have differences. There is no way that we can all coexist on this planet and think the same way. But what I'm hoping and what I'm envisioning for the future is where we can respect those differences and still move forward to a better tomorrow, and still move collectively forward into what we all need. And right now, we are not seeing that. And that's okay. The divisiveness, I believe, this is my opinion, needs to happen. We get to see each other in ways that we've never seen each other before because of this divisiveness. We get presented things and we're like, oh, I've never had to think about that before. But now, guess what? You do. And we are all being presented this in different ways. But I'm sure that collectively we're having to sift through certain belief system, ideals, ideologies, what you think, what I think, what I'm going to say, what I'm not going to say. Am I going to use my voice? Am I not going to use my voice? Am I going to stay silent? Is it better for me right now to stay silent? Because sometimes it is. I hate being pushed to say something before I'm ready to say it. And then being judged for my silence. It's like I'm processing. I'm not going to process at the same speed that you process. And I don't expect you to do the same. So, but I will collectively come out with my heart. And when I am in that heart space, then is when I'll use my voice, because I can say it with unconditional love. And here is where we forget to have compassion for each other. So I invite you today, and I invite you always to have the difficult conversations, watch the triggering videos, get yourself into the uncomfortable places, have yourself think about certain things and feel about certain things the way that you want to, without having to ask everybody else what they think. Try it out, document it, put it into a voice memo, because those are the moments of clarity that you have that give you insight as to where you're moving to in the future. What is it that you're there to embrace? And we're not going to have the same story. All of us are going to have different stories, different versions of it, and it's a beautiful thing. It's really a beautiful thing. But there is going to be that push and pull. There is going to be that friction, and this full moon is definitely unearthing that. So stay mindful of your words, stay mindful of who you're interacting with, stay mindful of the things that have been screaming, let go, I need out of your life. And take this full moon to lovingly and gracefully allow those things to exit. And if you can't do that, if you can't bring yourself emotionally to do that, then just take the first step and maybe do something symbolic where it shows that your intention is to give away. Because beautiful things and magical things happen when you use the right intention. The universe shows up for you because you showed up for yourself. So that's my invitation this full moon. Remember that we are in that paradox of what we all need versus what I need. So don't feel guilty or selfish for allowing thoughts into your consciousness about what I want versus what everybody else wants. Because it's important that you have this kind of thinking happening right now. Not because you're going to pick sides, not because you need to even be on a side. You know what side you need to be on? Yours, your truth. And can you stand in it? So I encourage you to be free thinkers, to embrace this Aquarian change, even though it may look like freaking chaos. I totally get it. I totally get it. It's one of the saddest times, but also I feel really lucky to be alive. I feel lucky to be pioneering some kind of change. And I think that if you're here watching this, especially if you're here live with us, you're part of that movement too. So it's really important that you think for yourself and that you determine what it is that your truth is. So thank you, comadres. Thank you for always supporting me. Thank you for coming to these moon reports or watching later, for all your feedback. I absolutely love spending time here. To the new comadres or the potential comadres that are thinking of joining, I hope you enjoyed. Again, my name is Marlene, and I'm open for questions if you ever have any questions about the comadres or about astrology or any kind of these themes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy full moon. Take good care. See you soon. Ciao.